setting sail on the open seas, and Brad's gonna laugh every time we say booty.
Yeah, he's right.
He's a little kid. He really is.
Hello! Welcome to Bad at Board Games.
Well, he's bad at board games.
I'm Brad Lake.
I'm Toph Ferguson.
And we're bad at board games, so you don't have to be. Toph, what are we talking about today?
Today we are talking about Dead Reckoning.
Arr. Stick around to the end. You'll find out what our BGG rating of this is, and you'll also find out what my value rating is. And sadly, it doesn't look like we can buy this game in retail. So we'll find out if there is a value rating.
But stick around and see a little bit more about what we think of the ratings.
Exactly. Toph, tell us a little bit about it.
Yes. So Dead Reckoning is a 2022 game that is designed by John Clair with artwork by one of our favorite artists in board games, Ian O'Toole, and published by AEG. It is a 4X, or I should say pseudo 4X game of discovery and pirating and exploring booty and all other kinds of things. Got to throw in booty every single time we can. So the theme of this game, if you haven't picked it up yet, is pirates. And it is going out as a pirate into the open seas, exploring a little bit, trying to collect whatever it is that we can collect, whether that is money or other types of booty counter up at the top. And as you're doing so, gaining or spreading your influence across building buildings, kind of protecting what is yours, and ultimately trying to get as much money as possible. So, tell us a little bit about what it looks like.
So you've got all these modular maps, which make it pretty nice. And as I drop a lot of stuff.
Nothing like see-through cards.
Yeah. So you do have this like haze of war when the tiles are in this direction, and then when you discover them, you'll flip them over. It'll either be an island or an open space like this one is. And as you explore, you get to see like, Pirate Island or the one with the volcano or Devil's Backbone. They have all the piratey names and such like that. So it's kind of cool as you explore. And then your cards, this is kind of what makes it cool, right? Is this increasing and chaining ability to design your deck, because we both start with the same deck as you go. But everything looks nice. I mean, this see-through thing works. The way that you sleeve them into your cards works real well with all the appearance. You've got some upgrades for your boat. It's not over the top grandiose, but everything is thick. Everything is well done. I don't feel like anything's cheap. Now, this is the deluxe version that we're sitting in front of. So for the deluxe version, like, these may be the best coins I've seen in any game that we've had so far. And then the barrels that came with it, it's pretty slick. I have to admit that This is not our copy. This is a friend of ours copy. And I'm glad we've gotten to play with it a few times already. And I don't know. There's a lot to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's classic Ian O'Toole artwork. It's going to look nice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it looks nice on the table, and it's very good quality stuff. And that fits well, I think, with the theme. It fits well with the mechanics. You know, the artwork on this for a pirate game compared to, let's say, and we're going to keep going back and complaining at the artwork of it, but a game like
now I can't remember the name.
Yeah, now I can't remember the name.
They just redid it.
Yeah, they did.
Year.
Well, anyways, we're bad at board games. We're bad at remembering things. But Stonemaier redid a classic game. And why can't I remember this? We're going to put up the image in front of it. And the prior game, the original game, the artwork was extremely piratey. And then when it came back out, it was very much animatronic and
pirate
just
sharks.
Kind of,
A lot more cartoony.
Anamorphic, I think. Yeah. And it just definitely didn't hit the theme, I don't think, quite so much with pirates. This one isn't so extreme that it's going to be like dark artwork. It's still fun. It's still friendly to kids, to anybody who's going to be playing it. But at the same time, I feel like I'm kind of stepping into Pirates of the Caribbean and kind of getting a little bit of that feel with it too. And that works with the mechanics and with what's going on with the game itself. At its heart, this is a deck builder game. Now, it's going to have a little bit of variances with that. And not only is it that you're building your deck because you're not adding any more cards to it, you're building your deck in the way that you are doing your upgrades and the way that you are developing the characters that you have, that you start with. So at its core, that's really what you're doing. You're starting with just 12 cards. I think it's 12, 14 cards, something like that. And from those cards, you are going to be seeing them upgrade and become more powerful with different abilities that you're adding in. And that's where Brad was talking about these clear cards. As you go through the game, you're going to be buying up these cards. You're going to be sleeving them into or slotting them into the sleeves that you have the original cards. And then you're going to start seeing those cards take on additional benefits every time you play them. So you're not building out a large deck to be able to draw from, but you are making your deck much, much better. And that's how it's getting different from your opponent. The game itself is what I call a pseudo 4X game. It is a 4X game. It's got exploration. It's got exploitation of resources. It's got extermination, kind of. It's not player elimination, but it does have extermination. You start to see all these different things. I equate this kind of like Scythe, where a lot of people complain and say Scythe is not a 4X game, and maybe at its heart it's not because there's no player elimination, but similar to Scythe, if you lose a battle, you're going back to your home base. With this, if your ship is sunk, you're going to go back to your home base. Little things like that still uphold the idea of 4X mechanics. You have movement around the board, movement points, so you're not always going to be able to move. You've got to balance your resources appropriately for that, build your deck appropriately for that. You're going to have resource management, that exploitation of resources. How much can you carry? Where are you going to put it? How are you going to use it? Those are all things that you're going to have to manage throughout the entire game to be able to move further or buy more things. It's all a balance with it. You're also seeing end game objectives as a big part of this. As you can tell, there's a lot going on in this game. There's a lot of things to be able to work on, and that's just in kind of the simple things. We can go into more minute detail with how you spread your influence across the board, with how the board itself is modular and it's always going to change every single time you play it, how you start to see the exploration. Is it good? Is it bad? How are you going to be able to do it? There's a ton of mechanics, a ton of things going on in this game, which is why it's in such a huge box.
Yep. So this was on Derek's shelf of shame. He got it. And since he's in our game group, I was trying to help people get their shelf of shame down a little bit. And so we got Carnegie played. I'm just trying to I'll learn the rules. I'll teach it just so we can get help maintain that shelf. Right. So did the same thing with this. The rule book's pretty good, but I ended up watching John Gets Games play and teach. And the interesting thing about it is after you watch a couple rounds of this and you see all the mechanics, that's it. And then as I was reading the rule book, and I never had to read the whole rule book, I would just look up some things, but I read through movement, and I would say that's probably the most complicated thing by the way that they limit you in some cases to move. Because if you put barrels on your ship, then you don't get to use that for your sail. in some conditions. In another condition, you do. So it's just what kind of one of those things. Like I think everybody kind of struggles with the when can I put my sail up if I have stuff and when can't I? But once you get past that, it's fairly straightforward. The fighting, when we did that was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun with this. So the cube fighting, you drop your cubes down here, and we'll put B-roll up in this as the thing falls apart.
Just break it. Yeah. Why don't you?
But
not our copy.
As you drop the cubes down, and it's not broken, it comes apart. But as you drop the cubes down and it lands in the different areas, even if you lose, there's areas where if your cubes go, you'll get barrels, you'll get money. If you lose to another player, you're going to lose 5 coins, which is the worst part, but that's the worst thing that's going to happen. And then other than that, the battle system is nice. You don't feel like, even when you're losing, it's I don't know. I don't think it's really that bad.
I agree with that. I am not somebody who typically likes player conflict and a lot of, especially player elimination. I do not like that in games. I feel like with this, yes, there's a little bit of conflict. Yes, there may be some penalties, but there's never the feeling of dread. Like it's going to completely set me back and stop me from being able to even enjoy playing the game any further. So I agree with that. I don't think it's too bad, and it's nice to get some perks with it sometimes.
Yeah, and that's like even when you lose, you're getting some stuff back.
And that makes sense thematically too, I think, because I mean, if I think about pirate battles, not that I've been in any, but in movies I've seen, books I've read, things like that, you might lose a battle, but you might have stolen some stuff off of somebody's ship, and so it kind of makes sense thematically, I think.
The other thing about it, at least trying to fight other players, you can't just go into their space and fight them. There is one card you start with, and it's not upgraded. And you have to have that pirate flag on a card you play to be able to fight another character. Now, merchant ships that come out with cards, you can fight them at any time. So it does limit you at the beginning, so you're not just going to go over and like beat somebody up. So, that's a nice little thing. And I guess we're getting into some of our pros. I was just trying to tell you a little bit about our stories. Do you have anything kind of like what you thought about, learning it before we get into our pros and cons?
So my first play of it, Brad and Derek had already played, and we played I think it was just 3 of us, played a 3-player game. And I will say it took me most of the game to kind of feel like I knew what I was doing, which I don't want to say is necessarily a pro or a con. I don't want to get into that side of it. But from my mind, as somebody who plays heavyweight games, complex games, a lot of games, I did kind of feel like I was set at a disadvantage, and I knew I would absolutely not win. And I absolutely did not win. It was bad, but it was still an enjoyable game. Like there's so much going on. We'll get into the complexity rating a little bit later on, but there's so much going on in this game that I kind of get in my mind, I'm going to do everything. Like that's kind of my, end game goal. There's a lot of objectives. Let me work on everything all at one time. I set myself up in that moment, I feel like, to not overly be competitive in a way to be able to play the game and win the game and understand what was going on. But throughout the whole thing, we were laughing, we were having fun, we were doing this, we were battling merchant ships, we were losing, we were doing all kinds of stuff. And so I never felt like, even as somebody coming into other people who knew how to play the game, that I wasn't enjoying it, which can happen oftentimes with playing games. But this game, well, it's not a comedy game, it's not going to be something like that. There's still moments when you can rag on other players and you can push each other on in terms of, do I battle that merchant ship? Do I not? Okay, well, let's do it. Let's have fun. Let's see what happens. Oh no, I lost. Like, okay, I've got fire on my ship. I'm going to sink here soon. Like it's still fun and enjoyable, even without feeling like you need to be competitive. And I think that made it fun. The first game that we played through, I love the deck building aspect of this. I've played that in other games. I love that. And there are things like that I jumped into it saying, oh, I'm good to go with some of the mechanics. But everything else I started exploring and having fun. And it really is. I don't think I'd want to play it solo. I think this is a fun game to play with other people and to really kind of, even without knowing what I'm doing, do it. It was fun. The second game was amazing. This last game was amazing to play. So
we'll get into some of our pros, and I'll kind of start. I like this mechanism where you have 2 different ways to increase the power of your cards, right? So each one of your characters, and I'll put some B-roll over this, has 4 different levels And when you get them into your hand, you can pick one of those characters that you have to upgrade. And by upgrading it, you'll go from, getting one barrel or one cannon to more and more and more. That's the one half of this. The other half is going out and buying the clear, see-through cards that you sleeve into your character's sleeve. Yeah. And that gives you it's a randomized way of increasing the power of that card when you draw it. And you can choose to try to get a little bit on all your cards, or you can go heavy in one card. So I don't know, there's something about that. It's and you can play your game by going out and buying the cards that work with the strategy you're trying to go for. You want to go fight merchants and fight other players. You can try to go cannon collecting. If you want to do things on the islands and build buildings, you can go in that direction. I was trying this last game to try to collect everything that would allow me to draw more cards. I think it took me, I had some really powerful turns at the end of the game, but I sacrificed a slower start. And so I lost that game, right? But I had fun because I was playing in a way that I wanted to play. And so that's I guess there's two pros, right? So I get to play the way I want to play, and I feel like I could still win, even though I'm playing completely different than Toph or Derek or Jamon. And then I got to make, that way that you manipulate the cards. Instead of a deck builder, you're increasing the power of your deck or each of your cards, which is cool.
Brad is very good at chaining things together and kind of finding a pathway that's going to allow him to do one thing to do something else, or upgrade in a way that's going to allow him to have those abilities. I definitely see that being probably one of his biggest pros, at least in my perception of this game. I am much better I'm good with reactionary things, with tactical play. I don't see some of the connections that Brad does. Brad immediately jumped on this, buying up the cards that allows him to play another card when he plays that, or draw another card when he plays that card. And on one of the games, he played all 12 of his cards because he had so many cards that allowed him to pull other cards up, which gave him every power in his hand that he was able to do in one turn. And that definitely is a pro to this. The sleeving and the upgrading, these layering cards, I do love a lot. I think that is what makes this game different than so many other ones. To go on with that, one of the things I like about these is that they have slots that they can go into. So you cannot level up one character's card too many times. You can level it up only 3 times, but you can only level it up with a bottom layer, middle layer, and top layer slot upgrade. So you kind of have to also watch, what am I going to do with this character at the end of the game? How is my play for this individual character going to look, so I know what I'm upgrading when I upgrade it? And that's not my big thing, but I do love that in this game. I love how it kind of forces you to put it in a certain place, but then also could force you to say, I can't buy it. I can't buy a card because none of the cards in my hand allow me to upgrade it to that ability. That's pretty cool.
I don't know. There's a lot I like about this. Like I said, I think I'll go back to, I like the fact that you can play how you want to play. And I don't feel like me playing in a certain way limits me and makes me win. I think 90% of games say multiple ways to win. This may be the first one I've played that I really feel like you have multiple ways to win.
Yes.
So, because every person that's won when we've played these games has played a different game. You can race to the objectives, and you end the game based on getting 4 objectives complete. So there's just different strategies that you can go after.
Yeah.
Any other pros?
Yeah, I think the drop tower is another one of the things that I really do like about this game, and that's when you go into battle, the way the battle system works in this game, you are looking at the cannons. Brad mentioned cannons earlier. How many cannons do you have available to you, whether they're on your ship or in your hand? And then you get cubes based on that. So you take your cubes and you put them into a tower. The opponent, whether that is somebody that's on the board, like a merchant ship, or another player, is going to also get to throw in cubes buildings will have certain number of cubes that they can throw in, and they're throwing them in of their color. So you've got this drop tower with cubes going all over the place, and everywhere they land, there's going to be some type of a benefit or penalty, whether that is one of the crowns that you can use to win the battle, whether that's setting another ship on fire and making them take more damage, whether that's gaining resources, the coins, the barrels. I like that. I like how it's not only a you versus me, one of us is going to lose, but there's other ways to mitigate it. And then going with the battle theme, you have card mitigation as well. So there's things that you can upgrade into your deck that will allow you to have kind of not end game benefits, but end of battle benefits, or towards the end of battle benefits that can maybe sway it. You can mitigate where cubes are going on that little mat. Those are things I think that make this stand out in battle so much different than other games as well.
Yeah, and it does. The battle system caps. Really, the worst thing that's going to happen to you is you're going to lose 5 coins, which hurts.
Yeah.
But it's like that's the cap. And even if you get sunk, so to speak, the worst thing, you still just lose the 5 coins and you go home and all your damage is healed. Like, it's not that bad. It really isn't. You really don't feel like, everything just happened to you and now you have absolutely no way to win. No, the other person got 5 of your coins, which is 5 victory points in the end. But then your ship is immediately repaired and it just goes back to your port, where most of your resources, being your barrels, end up anyway. So then you can just reload your ship up and head out. Yeah. And you don't lose the barrels that you already had on, like, it's not like you wipe your ship clean and nothing happens and you're not starting over. You're not even losing your resources other than the 5 coins. So pretty slick.
Yeah. One of the other things I really like is on the board itself, when you're playing for influence, as you go out exploring, you explore islands, more islands pop up on the board, then you can start putting out your cubes into the various areas. That's your influence. And when you gain majority influence, you get added benefits as well. You get permanent cubes. You can start doing things like producing resources on that island. You can start to build buildings on that island. And the buildings are fun. Some of them are just strongholds. Some of them will shoot everybody else that comes by through that slot. Some of them produce more things. So they allow you to do it. And what it has done is this game is a constant give and pull of who has influence, who is controlling what island. And where I did not do well last game was going out and trying to get as much influence spread, no matter whether I was winning an island or losing it, get on every island that I can. This game, we both did that. We were both on as many as we could. There's 2 islands I'm not on at all. The rest of them we are. And that's a fun little push and pull throughout the entire game of who's in control, who's not in control. How can you stop somebody from taking your control, and kind of spreading that influence? It's fun too, because it feels like area control. It kind of is, I guess. But it allows you to do some pretty fun things and kind of get out there. And it also is challenging because when you go into battle, if you don't have enough cubes, you got to start taking them off of your islands. And so then you got to worry about what you're doing there. And that's another fun part of it. So there's a lot of cons. A lot of pros. We can continue talking about them, but I know you want to talk about some cons you have, right?
So the first con I would say is laying everything out is a bit time consuming. It's not the worst. It's not like, like Villa Certas and some others I think take longer, but this is not, hey, just put it out. Right. And I don't know how much well you can see this, and maybe I'll get some B-roll of the actual table, how it looks right now. It's kind of a mess.
It's fiddly.
The
setup is fiddly.
We don't have double layered things to keep things in the right spot and stuff. And I'm not sure you need it, but it still is like, it's not this nice little neat, if you have OCD, it's not going to be all lovely and perfect. But, that's my first con, and we'll just kind of go back and forth.
There's too many options. And I think, I don't want to say that hurts the game, but I think especially learning a game and especially bringing it to new players, it can be too much. There's a lot going on. There's multiple ways to consider upgrading your cards. There's 8 objectives that you can work towards. You're only going to be able to put out 4 of your tiles or your flags. And as soon as somebody puts out their 4th, then that kind of ends the game. Everybody gets one last turn. Everybody else gets one last turn. there's just so much going on that it can be very hard to think, where is the next thing that I'm going to do? What am I doing? AP is definitely going to be something to watch out for in your groups, especially if you already have a little bit of AP in your gaming group. You're going to probably see a lot more of that in this game. And it's not complex. Not any one thing is difficult to do, but when you have so many options to do, what are you doing with your one little turn? I think it's a little too much. I would like to see a little less things to do.
And he gets the AP. The only counter I would have to that is I feel like it goes fast enough that it's nicely paced.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that would be a pro. And I know we're in the cons and we mix these things up a little bit, but like, I understand what he's saying, but I felt like the other games that I've played it's been pretty snappy.
Yeah.
You know, so
my first game of it, I felt like I just sat with a deer in headlights. Like, what am I doing? Yeah. Like, there's 80 things that I can do right now, and I need to choose one of them. Which one am I doing, and why? Because I want to learn the game. I don't just want to do something random to do it. Like, why do I do this? It's a lot.
I understood.
Yeah.
And this is like a upkeep phase is after every time you take one of these cards, you have to draw another card and bring it out. And this is nitpicky at best, but it's the constant forgetting to, oh, wait a minute, on the next person's turn. Yeah, we got to draw these cards out. So it's that maintenance of it all. And then cleanup. Cleanup of this is a bear. Not a bear, but like everybody has to pitch in. You don't want everybody to leave because you have to reset all the cards back to level 1. You have to take all of these and match them up with the right case and put them all, and then get everybody's pieces back in their little chest. So once everything, to make it easy to bring out, everybody has to participate in the putting up.
It's 100% sure on that, because there's so much to clean up to reset it for the next game. And if you don't do it then you're starting out with possibly upgraded cards that you didn't catch. And then you're like, wait, did I do that? Or was that already there? Yeah.
Yeah. You definitely have to put it away and reset everything before you bring it back out again.
They did give you very nice thematic boxes to store things in, though. So, I mean, I guess there is a pro, but
at least with the deluxe version. I don't know what the regular one comes with, but they have, this is everything for your player starts in one of these little chests.
That makes it nice, because that chest is what you're using throughout the game to have your player pieces in it. Yeah. You don't have any baggies at all in this.
There's no bags.
Granted, I don't know what the standard edition looks like.
This is the deluxe
Thank
version.
you, Derek, for upgrading everything, going all in on the Kickstarter. So,
any other cons?
Yes, there is no 5 coin. Yeah. I hate when games, this is the math major in me coming out.
It's a 3.
I hate when games have a denomination of 1, 3, 10. Why? Especially when, and this is maybe the biggest issue I have with it. When you go into battle and somebody loses battle, they're losing 5 coins. Why is there no 5 coin? Like, why is it a 3 coin? That makes no sense. Give me 1s, 5s, 10s. That's fine. If you want to give me 3s, give me 1, 3s, 5s, 10s. Don't just give me 1, 3, 10. And then it's like 1, 3, 10, 30. Like, there's no 20, 25, like 1, 3, 10, 30. Why? That it's just, that slows things down too, because you're always trying to find that one little coin versus the 3. I hate that. Just make it easy.
Yep.
And I like numbers, like, a lot.
My other con, and Toph will rebuttal this.
We're going to have a debate here.
Yeah. But when Toph or whoever triggers the end game, they're trying to make it so that the 3 other players in a 4-player game, or the 2 other players in a 3-player game, or the last person in a 2-player game can't just go in, oh, I'm going to pick off all the island and get all those, and then I'm going to come attack you, and I'm going to get you. So I agree with, if I try to go and knock Toph's cubes off an island, it costs me double now. I actually agree with that, because I think it shouldn't just be like, oh, because I'm the last player, I'm now going to like plink off your cubes, and you had all these islands, and now I've come in and just dropped 5 cubes around, and I was able to get the majority on all 5 islands now, and that gave me a swing of 10 victory points or something like that, right? So that I agree with. The one that I've had a problem with, and I've had it happen 3 times now, is the end of game battle system. So if you're done, then you automatically get 2 more cubes to fight whoever would come and attack you.
Anytime they come to attack you.
Yeah. So I understand, but you get to draw 4 cards as well, and you can play cannons from your hand. So the fact that you can get bonus abilities and you automatically get 2 extra cubes just because you happen to not be last, that's the part that I find either just let the person have 2 cubes so that they can have whatever's on their ship plus what's in, these 2 cubes, or draw the hand, not both. That's my opinion.
And I disagree with that, because in what I think, if like in this game, I triggered end of game scoring, I don't get any extra plays. Brad gets a play. He comes to attack me. That's fine. That's good. I had my hand, because at the end of your turn, you draw up. That's not the start of your turn. It's the end of your turn. So I had already drawn up my deck. And then because it's the end and it's trying not to stomp the person that has no more plays, he came to attack me. I had my cannons on my ship plus these 2 extra cubes. Now, it didn't really change the outcome of the game or the battle. I don't think it even changed the outcome of the battle. But because I have no ability to go and counteract it, I have no way to go back and fight him again afterwards. I don't think it's an issue that I have a little bit extra of a boost to be able to go into it. And especially would come into play with multiple people on the board, because if I trigger end of game, now everybody else is going to have the ability. And if they all want to come and attack me because I was the one that triggered end of game, which means I have an extra objective to give me points, now I could completely be destroyed. And I think that does allow me to have a little bit more protection. So anybody who comes after me or after the person who triggered the end of game, I don't think it's an issue at all. I think it's actually a pro that kind of allows a little bit of balance in end of game as opposed to getting stomped and slammed.
But I don't think nobody's ever got, I think it's just too far the other way. I understand what he's saying and I agree with it. And I'm not trying to say take it away. I'm saying pick one or the other, not both. And so that's my thing. Yes, I agree. Yeah. But I've been the last player in all the games, and I feel like, okay, I understand the island thing and you can plan for that, but then, like I can't attack him 10 times, so it's like, or whoever it is. So like I said, it's a difference of opinion. I just think it's a little bit more. Yeah. If you race to the end, then you're almost sitting there being like, man, you can't hurt me anymore. It's how it feels.
Or in my opinion, you race to the end, then you're a sitting duck for everybody to come attack you and kind of dethrone you. And I think that brings some balance there. So I agree with the rule books. He disagrees. We do that sometimes in gaming.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. So what is the game weight?
Yes. So BGG is putting this at 3.4. That's 3.4 out of 5. I disagree and I agree. I think the game itself is much easier than a 3.4. The mechanics, the individual, you break it down, putting out your cubes for influence, movement across the board, resource management, all of that, those all make sense. The end game objectives, they all make sense. I don't think they're anywhere near 3.4. But because there's so much going on, like so much going on that you have to manage all at one time, not difficult things, just a lot of things, that's what brings it up. I still don't necessarily think it's a 3.4. In my opinion, I don't think it's a 3.4. But I think it's definitely getting close to it. I would have thought a little over 3.25, somewhere around 3.25 when I was thinking. When I looked it up on BGG and I saw it was 3.4, I was like, holy cow, it's a lot higher than I thought.
Well, and they have to take the average, right? So some people think this is a 4.
That's true.
This isn't a 4.
No, I don't.
And so that's the downside to only being able to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with the BGG rating.
Yeah.
If you don't think it's a 3, if you think it's a 3.5, you're probably going to have to put a 4 just to try to average it out. But
yeah, that is true. Yeah, it depends on your group where you're probably going to want to think about, are you going to get this or are you not? With our group, we play a lot of games that are similar to this. I think there's nothing new in this game completely from something else. So we're used to all of this kind of stuff. But I do think there's too much going on.
This one did kind of like, to his credit, most of the time he just picks things up. There was something about this one that like took it, like you said, it took you till the end of the game to like kind of feel it out.
And I also, I was not buying cards with long-term strategy. Brad was doing fantastic with chaining them together, but I was going for other things. I was going for the influence on the islands and building buildings. Like that was from the beginning, that was my goal. That's what it was. But even at that, there were still times that I was just like, well, I can't do that. Now what am I going to do? And now I've got to choose something and I have all this huge range of things. So yeah, I think it's just a little too much, but I think I think the rating works. Rare. Yeah, I think it works. I think, in my opinion, to be about a 3.25.
Cool. So getting on to our value rating. Turns out you can't get this, which was sad. I was literally like, I think I'm going to go buy this. And you can't. So I remember this coming out, and I wasn't interested in it. Mm-hmm. Maybe I should have talked about this at the story, right? But this Kickstarter, it didn't sing to me. It just didn't appeal to me. After playing it, and it gets to that whole thing, you can't play everything, and you don't. Do you believe the people that are telling you they like it or not? Or even when you watch, it's like, oh, it's not that. Sometimes board games aren't exciting to watch. Sometimes they are, but a lot of times they're not. And so this never grabbed me. Now this has grabbed me and I can't go buy it. So I don't know if this will be something I ever republish either, because I don't think, while I think it's gotten good ratings on BGG, I don't think it had this like outstanding Kickstarter. And for AEG, this is an expensive game. Yeah. You can find the standard edition on eBay or a few places like at around $120, $130. But some of the other ones are like $350, $450, with the deluxe and new and unopened and things like that. So I apologize for that. We didn't go into doing this review thinking that you wouldn't be able to get it, but at least hopefully you'll be able to kind of look at this. I can't give this a value rating because it's now an open on the secondary market. Now, if it comes back to Kickstarter, I'll be back in it. Mm-hmm. So for whatever that's worth. But you're going to have to decide, play it before you go out and spend that kind of money on it, just to see if it's something you'd be interested in. So unfortunately, I personally don't feel like I can give you a value rating. If you're going to spend $130 on this, I'd probably say it's a 3. Maybe I like the game enough, I would probably say it's 3+, but I don't, but it's but when you get over $100, it's expensive. Yeah. And so I would hope you would have played the game either on BGA or Tabletop Simulator or something to know that before you go into it.
Can I give my value rating? So my value rating is going to be more so objective to what is, or dependent on what is the secondary market value. If this is $130, get something else. That's my thought. Like thinking of all of our favorite Lacerda games. You can get just about any of the games for $1.25. So to spend $1.30 on this and not get all the upgrades and everything like that with it, I would buy Lisboa hands down anytime over this. Now, granted, Lisboa is my second favorite game. But I mean, so we haven't played on Mars yet, and that one is not as exciting to me in terms of the one that I really want to pick up and play. I'm probably going to love it. Probably absolutely going to love it. But I'm not excited about picking that one up and playing that one. I will sit down if somebody else has it, but why spend $1.25? However, if it was between the two, I would probably say that's the one that I would buy over this. And I like this game. That's the thing. Like, I like it, but I don't think if I'm going to spend $125, like you said, when you get over $100, that's a lot of money for a game. And I don't think for me, this is up that high. So I wouldn't go secondary market at that value to pick it up.
I might.
Yeah. Again, so difference between
that's why you guys like watching sometimes. We don't agree. So do we want to go on to our BGG ratings?
Sure.
What is your BGG rating? Toph, lead it off.
Yes. So having just complained about the price of the game, granted I didn't pay for it.
It's a 5.
Yeah, this is a 2. No. I am giving this a 7.5. I like the game. It's a good game. I am willing to sit down and play it whenever somebody says, hey, do you want to play Dead Reckoning? Yeah, sure. I'll sit down and play it, and I will have a great time doing so. But I don't think it's pushing it into an 8 range. Now, with that said, if I play it a whole lot more and I get to where I know everything that's coming up and that idea of the too many things going on reduces, maybe it will go up a little bit more, but I don't know if I'll see it going above 7.5 to 8. So 7.5 is mine. What about you?
So I really like this game, and every time we've played it over the last couple of weeks, it just, to me, it gets better. And I haven't won. So I haven't gotten blown out. And this last time, I think Toph beat me almost by 20 points. But I was still enjoying the journey, enjoying how I was playing. So for me, this game's an 8. I really like it now. And I don't think it's because of the extra components. I mean, this is nice. Now, if everything is complete cardboard and there's no wooden pieces, that might detract somewhat, but I think you still have to have the cubes in the standard edition and stuff. So I'm not sure I'm going to buy it because we have Derek's copy, but if he goes to sell it, I may end up having to buy it from him.
And then I get to play it.
Yeah, so I'm enjoying it. I have enjoyed it. I would want to play it more. So for me, it's an 8. That's kind of where I'm at. So
excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there it is. What is it that you think about this game? Have you been able to play it? Do you want to play it? Is it on your shelf of shame like it was for Derek and you're ready to pull it out, hopefully now, based on the review, to see what it's about? Let us know down in the comments what your thoughts are on Dead Reckoning and its availability. You know, let's throw that out there. Do you like Kickstarter only? I'm not a big fan of that. So anyways, let's have some conversation down in the chat. Let us know your rating. If you enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to the channel, we would love to have you along for the ride. So please feel free to subscribe. And if you want to see our ugly mugs on front of this and Brad laughing every time we say the word booty, hit the little bell notification so that you'll know whenever it is that we put up a new video.
Thank you very much for watching. And just remember, no matter how you play, whether it's solo, with family, or friends,
enjoy whatever games you are bringing to the table.
Have a great night.
Bye.
Bye.
Booty.